welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than Wosny Lambre. Always fascinating to have his brilliant analysis. Top story of the day. Hell of a thing. Cops falsely accuse a man of theft, drags the man off a bus. They beat the man to find out that the man did no such thing. Put it up full mass. Here we go. Michigan police dragged a black male off of a city bus. Decided to beat him up before bringing him to a Walmart. They brought him to the Walmart to prove he stole the items. It turns out they were completely wrong. He's now filing a lawsuit. Here's what happened. John Fleming had committed no crime, nothing, when he was accosted on a city bus 3 years ago by Michigan cops who accused him of shoplifting from a local Walmart, kneeing and punching the then 30-year-old black male before dragging him off the bus, despite him repeatedly telling them he had receipts for his purchases. Once he was off the bus, Flint Township police officers forced him to lie down face first on the sidewalk while they continued to strike him, according to a lawsuit filed by Mr. Fleming last month. But once they saw he actually had a receipt, the cops decided to take him to the Walmart, where employees who had initially called police accusing him of shoplifting matched his receipt to the items in his possession, which proved he had stolen nothing. That's according to Michigan Live. Now, let's state the obvious. You mean to tell me that police officers are so concerned about the property of Walmart that they engage in a takedown on a city damn bus, beat a man, find the receipts on the man? That's not good enough. Obviously, Walmart is right. Walmart would have never called police on someone who didn't steal, or maybe the police didn't give a damn. They take the man to the Walmart, proving he never stole anything. What caused the officers to do this? So the incident took place April 2nd, 2022, after Fleming took the bus to make purchases at a Sam's Club and at a Walmart. After making his purchases, he walked out of the Walmart toward the bus when he realized he needed change for the bus fare. So he turned back around to re-enter the Walmart in hopes of obtaining change. All of this is quite common. However, a Walmart employee demanded his receipt. He refused to provide it, telling the employee he was not required to show a receipt to enter the store. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. You are not required to show a receipt entering an establishment. He then proceeded to get change for the bus before walking back out of the store. But the employee was not happy about Fleming not showing his receipt. So he called the police, accusing the black male of shoplifting. Now, here's the point where, in my opinion, Walmart as a company is liable. He didn't call the police and say, the man did not show me a receipt, because, see, that's not statutorily illegal. He called the police and said, the man stole, which, if you believed he stole, you would have put loss prevention on him and never required a receipt in the first place. You would have said he stole, loss prevention would have handled it from there. You decided to call the police. Fleming was on the bus. The man was on the bus on his way home when Flint Township Police pulled the whole damn bus over, pulled the bus over to confront him about alleged shoplifting, which he denied. And then he insisted on showing the police his receipts. But the cops began abusing him by kneeing him, as well as slamming his head into the pole on the bus, drawing blood. Michigan Live reported this in 2022. The cops released him and he was transported by ambulance to a local hospital to be treated for his injuries sustained in the arrest. I want you to see these pictures. But the assault did not end there. He was then abused by officers a second time at the hospital in an incident captured on video because he refused to leave without being treated. You see, once he's treated, it provides a record of the injury. Listed as defendants in the lawsuit are Flint Township police officers, Jason Piercy and Sergeant Michael Nemechek. The cops who approached him on the bus, along with the county sheriff's deputies, Corey Shirosky and Sean Clayton, who abused him at the hospital. Flint Township Facebook Jasmine Bureau via Atlanta Black Star provided this information. The lawsuit accuses the officers of unlawful detention and seizure and is asking for more than $75,000 for damages. He was just at a Walmart shopping for his business where he was profiled as a thief. Fleming's sister, Jasmine Burrow, told WJRT a month after the incident. He had receipts for the items for purchase. They did not bother to look at his receipts. He kept yelling, quote, "I have my receipts." He was jailed on charges of trespassing. Can you believe this? He was jailed for not breaking the law. He was jailed for not stealing. So because they were so upset that he's a law-abiding citizen, they decided to throw this man in jail for trespassing and disorderly conduct, resisting and interfering. This man spent 3 days behind bars before he was released. When we talk about Cape community and why there's such a separation, this is case in point. Instead of receiving actual charges, he should have received an apology. The only aggression should have been toward the employee or employees who decided to make a matter of a receipt walking into a store an actual criminal case. That's where the aggression should have been. That's where your focus should have been. Nowhere in hell this makes sense. Now, they're seeking more than $75,000. I don't see Walmart listed currently. I hope they are part of the litigation. I think it's an easy case to make. I believe the reason they are seeking $75,000 or more is because that gets them out of the local jurisdiction and gets them into federal court. All right, Waz, thoughts here?
Man, it's one of those things where you could tell the cops sort of went out about doing their business and set out to create an outcome no matter what.
Yeah.
If they were conducting some form of investigation, which is what the job of the police is, we just never get here. Like, they talk to the guy, they realize they got the wrong person. He's able to show them clearly, like, bro, I didn't steal anything from anybody, and it's fine. But these cops set out to achieve a result no matter what, and they didn't care who was going to get in the way. Civil rights, personal rights, personal respect and dignity, be damned. And this was the result, man. And it's ugly and it's horrible. And I really do hope this brother's family and him are able to be remunerated for this. But this is just obvious what happens here. You're not conducting any level of like, all right, let me find out what happened and make sure I get this right. They just wanted a result, and this was the outcome of that.
Yeah, and the fact that the man had a receipt, he already shopped at the Walmart. They could have easily gone back through the cameras if they really wanted to know if he stole anything or not, and not just be jerks. I remember my law school days. My contracts professor will say a receipt is evidence of contracting. But it is not required for you to produce evidence of contracting, because evidence of contracting can be there or not. Contracting could have still taken place. They did no investigation. All right, we'll bring you updates as it comes. Okay, here we go. So 2 black women, 2 black girls, racially profiled inside of, well, H&M. We got the video. Here it is.
We're gonna go ahead and just refuse service. There's no reason. But that's what we're gonna go ahead and do today. I'll go ahead and I'll take that. If you guys could go ahead and please leave the store, we'd really appreciate it.
Wait, so why do you have to leave the store?
Because we're just refusing service. We don't have to have a reason.
I think you should have a reason for kicking us out of the store. We're just shopping here. What is your reason?
To be completely honest with you, I don't have to have a reason. I'm just letting you guys know.
So are you going to kick everyone else out of the store too? Funny.
If we have the right to refuse service to anybody, so I'm having the right to refuse service to you guys. I don't have to have a reason. So that is my reason. So I'm just asking you guys to please leave the store today.
So you've seen us steal before? Is that what you're saying?
Nobody said that at all.
That's what he said. That we're repeat shoplifters here.
We've seen you in here before. I didn't say
I have not been here in so
long.
I've been here in, I don't even know the last time.
To be honest with you guys, we've seen you in here plenty of times before.
Us too.
Yeah, we've seen people.
Do you have like a picture? Because it's not us.
I don't need to show you guys. I'm refusing service to you guys today. I've asked you guys to please leave the store. I don't need you guys to get violent or anything like that.
Violent?
You guys
Let's go.
I don't want you guys to get violent. Know how you all are. Really. I don't have to give a reason. I can refuse service to whom I choose. This is a resurfaced video back from 2024. We are analyzing it because I don't think it ever got its proper just due then. Put up the picture full mass. These are young ladies at an H&M store. This was in New Mexico. A resurfaced video shows 2 girls, Nia and Nola, recorded themselves seemingly being kicked out of an H&M store in Albuquerque. Upon asking why they were being asked to leave, the manager only gives them one repeated excuse, that they were simply being refused service. Does that sound familiar to you? There's a museum that we have here, historic museum, Civil Rights, Human Rights Museum in Atlanta. They have a demonstration where you can put on these headphones and sit at a counter, and they start to replay what Black folk in the 60s had to go through. And the first thing you hear, we're refusing you service. In the video, the security guard also accused the 2 of being repeated shoplifters and claimed staff members have seen them in the store plenty of times per the video. However, the girls deny having ever stepped foot in the store until that day. Their requests for surveillance proof of their alleged crimes are denied as well. If they actually had stolen, believe me, they would have been trespassed. There would be a record. Hell, their pictures may be in the front. You know how to take the picture, say this person can't come here? None of that. None of that. So the newly resurfaced video has prompted a response from the store's official Instagram page. Quote, "We take the incident from February of last year at our Albuquerque store very seriously. Following the incident, we immediately acted according to our strict guidelines. The employee in question is no longer employed by H&M. We extend a sincere apology to the affected customers," they wrote in a comment. The viral clip has drawn reactions across the web. The View co-host, Sonny Huston, commented on the clip, posted on the Atlanta Black Star IG page with a simple declaration, quote, "Racial profiling is illegal." 2023 study published by the State of Racial Profiling in America. In American Retail surveyed more than 1,000 Black shoppers, 90% of whom said they have experienced racial profiling while buying or browsing. More than 75% reported that they were either followed or closely watched. I'm surprised it's not 100%. And sometimes this becomes the conversation. If you have, let's say you're a white brother or sister and you have Black friends, but you don't believe those Black friends. I know I'm not talking about anybody who watches Indisputable, but outside of that crowd, if you have Black friends and you don't believe the experience of your Black friends, do you really have Black friends? Because 9 times out of 10, which the survey has shown, Black people will tell you, this is our experience. And if we're going to move forward, we're going to progress as a society, we're going to progress as just human beings, we have to start believing the truth that comes out that may not be the most beautiful thing. Sometimes truth is ugly, but I promise you truth does one thing. If it does nothing else, it sets you free. It sets you free. All right. I wasn't surprised by the statistical data. I was surprised that H&M had an employee who literally took on the person of a 60s bigot during that encounter.
Yeah, it's weird because H&M, for those who don't know, and y'all could look this up, this is literally one of the most profitable clothing brands in the history of humankind. These people print money, billions of dollars in profits every single year. So you would think everybody has the right to have a loss prevention program in their business. Like, you would think they would be better at training these folks up as to not, employ the employ the tactics of Strom Thurmond. You know what I mean? Like, you would hope that they would have that, but this is just so ham-handed in how it was handled. It's basically like, yeah. And by the way, grant you, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, there's no way there was 2 Black girls that came in and stole from them before. I'm sure that that's happened before, but that don't give you the right to accost every single young Black woman who walks into your store and trying to do business with you. This is just not a way to run a business. I'm sorry, you guys, it's 2025, man. The kind of cameras that we got, all of the scary facial recognition technology, like, y'all getting this blatantly wrong is crazy. And I do hope that they take these folks to court. Like, it sucks when people lose your job, but I'm sorry, man, your job is loss prevention and you're going straight up, sit-ins, lunch counter with it is kind of crazy, and there needs to be consequences for that.
Yeah, well said. And just a reminder, ladies, you got 2 years statute of limitation. All right, the clock is running. All right, well, a teacher was very excited about putting the N-word on the whiteboard, has lost his job. We got the video, here it is.
R. You got 5 seconds. R. 3. He said R.
Put it up full mass. Georgia teacher was fired from his job after a video that circulated on social media showing him writing the N-word on a whiteboard in a class full of students. A brief clip shows the teacher at Walnut Grove High School standing in front of his whiteboard after writing the N-word and excluding the last letter, okay? Make it technically okay at that moment in his mind. Several students are heard laughing When the teacher begins a countdown, several students are heard shouting, R, 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 egging the teacher on to write the final letter of the word. Smiling, the teacher writes the final letter and completes the word as some students cheer and applaud. Put him back up. You just want a hug, don't you? Want to be accepted by your peers, so you aren't, and you decide to mislead children. I know some people would look at the kids, the high schoolers, and focus on the high schoolers. The high schoolers are typically a reflection of their parents. So their parents are likely racist as they are. The teacher is the one who has the moral, ethical, and legal responsibility to guide those children to a better sense of self. When you have teachers like this, you will always have students like that. It takes a different kind of teacher to course correct a student who exhibits actions of bigotry. He's not the leader they deserve. The Walton County District released a statement on its website notifying the district community that the staff member was in fact terminated from his position. Quote, the behavior captured in the video does not reflect the values of Walnut Grove High School or the Walton County School District, the statement reads. Immediate action was taken and the teacher is no longer employed with Walton County Schools. Our commitment remains clear. Every student deserves a safe, supportive, and respectful environment. I must push back. See, now I think you're in self-denial. If you're saying that this is not your district, if you're saying this is not the character, this is not the values, go back to the tape. Because it sounded like the majority of those students were saying R. It seemed as if the majority of those students were down with this program. That's indicative of culture. You have a teacher who's leading them astray. That's indicative of culture. How long has the teacher been there? Is it the first time the teacher has exhibited significant signs of immaturity and racism? What other racism has happened inside of that school? If you actually answer those questions honestly, I guarantee you, it becomes more difficult for you to say, this is not our character. These are not our values. You see, sometimes in order to course correct, you must know what course you're on. And if you keep denying that you all have an issue, you will continue to permeate the same results. It's unclear what led to the incident. According to WSB-TV, they report that some sort of game was being played when the teacher wrote the slur. The school system has also not released the identity of the teacher or said whether the students heard laughing and cheering were disciplined at all. Some Walton County parents were shocked. Some were disappointed by the video. One parent, Adriana Wyatt, said the daughter of a family friend who was inside the classroom recorded the incident. Quote, that should never be brought up in a classroom, like ever, Wyatt told WSB-TV. Quote, people need to be held accountable for that. And it's not okay to make kids feel a certain type of way while they're in your classroom. He probably got these students thinking to say it. They're probably saying it now. That's what another parent, Gary Brown, said. The video shows a few white students sitting in front of the classroom, but Wyatt said black students were also present. When asked why she thought some students thought the incident was funny, Wyatt said because they knew it was probably embarrassing because there were black kids in that classroom. Once again, another significant sign that you have a cultural problem at that institution and probably beyond. All right, Wosny, thoughts here?
I mean, what do you even say to that? To be honest, when I watched the video at first, I just assumed that this was a class full of white people. And it's one of those things where you get brought behind the curtain of like how maybe your worst fears of how certain white people might behave or talk about blacks when nobody's around. But whatever. Like people might think that they're joking and horsing around and having a good old white time. But it takes on a whole different shade of menace, honestly, when you consider the fact that there were black students in that class. Because now it's way beyond anything that you could say is horsing around or we were being silly with the hateful stuff. It's like, no, this is just straight up, you're menacing people and you are intimidating people by using that word in that way and laughing and joking. And the teacher who's in the position of authority in that room, they are the law in that room, to be embracing that kind of stuff, this kind of verbal attack on the black kids in the class. Like this is beyond the pale of anything, that you could even imagine would happen when you send your freaking kid to a school. And a lot of parents, man, they want to have their kids experience, a diverse set of people, even black parents, where it's just like, you know what? I want my kid to be exposed to different cultures, different kinds of people. But a lot of people feel scared to send their kids out into the world because they might literally run into this kind of thing, this type of hateful behavior in an educational environment. That's the craziest part. It's like, we're supposed to be putting a sort of enlightenment on these young white students, right? Like we're supposed to be teaching them something beyond the kinds of things that we talked about would happen in 1960s America. And that this is the kind of thing that they're propagating, even with black kids in the class, that's just crazy.
It's immature, it's bigoted, but they are children. They have a right for decent leadership. When the institution decides not to provide that, what happens next? Well, they become the adults that engage in the same racism that we see happening with our adults today. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
No one is representing what I call the silent majority, which is about 2/3 of this country, indisputably progressive.
But now we say the time has come for regime change in American television.
The Young Turks Network.
You have the Young Turks saying this is the time to fight for our values.
Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is. Real front runner in the online media space.
You guys might know us.
Biggest online left of center outlet that exists.
All of you know the Young Turks.
People from this district heard about Justice Democrats by watching your show.
Thanks to the Young Turks for covering Trayvon Martin's case early on when few people were covered.
They don't stop, I won't stop. Racism won't stop, so I won't stop.
Species are at risk of going extinct. Major media outlets did not dedicate much time at all to that.
We reached a whole heap of people with our progressive message. We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day we would have looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone.
25 billion lifetime views.
Damn.
Whoa, too strong, way too strong. That's 25 billion times someone watched the progressive message delivered to people all over the world. You know who helped to do that? You guys did. Our members and our audience are amazing, and they helped us to reach 2 generations, both millennials and Gen Z. They're both super progressive. And I gotta tell you, we're just getting started. Thank you. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Billy B. Taylor. What do you know? Billy says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. All right, we got a lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. I greatly appreciate everyone for joining the conversation. Okay, it's going to be interesting. Don't forget, Indisputable, the podcast. If you miss us here, you can always get us virtually anywhere you get your podcast, okay? I'm very thankful for the continued support via podcast. All right. Yep. Mad Energy. You know, PD can check the Walmart camera and or wait for the AP to call them. Yeah. Lady F&T. The employee was angry that the black man forgot his place. Yeah. And yeah. Andrew Martinez, I bet he was a smiler when he got fired. I mean, what do you say when they got the video? And I wonder what has happened when there was no video. Tiffany Kadri, welcome to Indisputable. Thank you so much, dear sister. We are appreciative of your support. Okay, that's something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You can't tell me how to sit in a store.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. You cannot tell me how to sit in a store. I'm a paying customer. I have food on the way. I have food on the way.
I don't care.
I'm a paying customer.
Like
it's not. You don't like the way I'm smelling? I have not. I've been here for 2 hours. No, you can't tell me how long to be here. You can't. I'm a paying customer. I'm a paying customer. I'm a paying customer. I'm waiting on my food. You can go over there. Goodbye. Goodbye. Call the police. Goodbye. 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 You cannot tell.
I can do whatever I want to.
No, you can't. Get out of my personal space. This isn't your, show me the rules. Show me where it says I have to sit a certain way in the chair. Show me where it says I have to sit a certain way in the chair.
No loitering. Out.
I'm waiting on my food.
Sit down. No, he's not.
I can sit however I want to sit. There is an order up there for 50 burgers. Those are mine. I'm waiting on my food. I can sit how I want. Goodbye.
This is utterly ridiculous. Put it up for a mass. McDonald's employee turns full Karen, harassing a black customer for the way he is sitting, okay? Another adult who is sitting. There are variations to how one can sit Typically, individuals are not allowed to police how you decide to do so. I am interested. We don't have more information than the video. I am interested to know what happened at the final turn of that event. Hopefully, cooler heads prevailed from management to let them know, yeah, they can sit more than one way. Wosny, I used to have this habit, man. I used to like sit with my leg on top of my leg, kind of, you know what I'm talking about? Nobody ever threatened to kick me out of a facility for doing so.
Especially not a McDonald's. That's the thing. Right. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that in a lot of places, McDonald's serves as like a cultural hangout spot. You know, you'll go there and there's like older people just kind of hanging out, drinking coffee, reading the newspaper, just using McDonald's as kind of like a chill spot, right? Like it's a lot of places is a community gathering situation. And these people are just, you know, it's encouraged that people would hang out and chill and make it like, feel like there's a life within the store. I'm looking in this McDonald's, it's empty. And a dude comes in there and buys 50 burgers. I'm sorry, y'all should be grabbing pillows from out the back, making sure that he's comfortable while he waits for his 50 burger order. Are you kidding me? The idea that you would police that, and okay, let's just say he had his foot up there or whatever. You can say, you know, our customers are gonna come. Could you, sir, you mind please not? You just asked nicely.
Yeah.
If it was just about an adjustment, you don't just sit up there and say, oh, you have to leave my store because how you're sitting in a McDonald's. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and you're right. It's about the approach many times. It's not just the request, it's about how you made it, right? Sometimes energy will be matched. Okay, well, they got the right one this time. Writer and TV personality, Touré, had an encounter with a Karen. Priceless. Here it is.
Today I met a woman out at the public tennis courts. She was short. I'm sure she voted for Trump 3 times. I'm sure she would have been there on January 6th, but she didn't have enough money for bus fare. She had about 90% of her teeth and a ski hat on, even though we were playing tennis. But she wasn't playing tennis. She was overseeing her son, about 14, who was playing with a much better older man. I'm at the tennis courts where I go every single day. I signed up to play from 12 to 1, and she's on my court at 12:01. I'm like, this is my court. She's going, no, it's first come, first serve. I'm like, no, there's a sign-up sheet. She goes, no, these are public courts. I'm like, no, I'm here every day. You have no idea of the rules. I do. I live in these courts.
She's a Karen, sir. Karens are above all rules, regulations, statutes. But here comes the husband. All right, what happened next?
She refuses to move off my courts. And then she says, why don't we call the police? Even though she's the problem. So she calls 911. The story is wild. This is all true. After she hung up, she starts arguing somehow with the guy I was going to play tennis with, and her husband comes running out of nowhere onto the courts as if he had run straight in from the set of The Sopranos. Khakis, 6 hairs clinging to the top of his head, black jacket, white turtleneck, like straight from Tony Soprano's crew. He's screaming, nobody yells at my wife. And I think he's going to go physically attack my partner. So I get in his way and I'm like, what do you want to do? And he's like, these are public courts. And I'm like, that's great. We have a sign-up sheet. We covered this already this morning. Like, you guys came late. You can't just take somebody else's court and then physically threaten them.
Respect the sign-up sheet, damn it. We have a protocol to things, all right? Okay, the police did arrive, and luckily for our dear brother, they said, no, this is just verbal. But they also told him he couldn't press charges for them basically calling the police, and there was no need for the police to come. Here it is.
Me and her telling these two cops what's going on. And she tells them I physically assaulted her. I was nowhere near this woman. I am certain she smelled. So I was keeping my distance from the beginning of the interaction. I was telling her about herself when she was refusing to get off my court, but I wasn't getting anywhere near her. And other people who were there who saw the whole thing are like, hey, officer, I saw the whole thing. There was no assault whatsoever. They never got near each other. So the officer's like, so it was just a verbal dispute, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, no. And they're like, it was just a verbal dispute. And I'm like, okay, so you have learned, you have assessed that she lied when she said there was an assault. So I want to press charges for that because she should not be saying that about something that didn't happen. And he's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
It could if they wanted it to. All right, it's called abuse of 911.
Yep.
And the reality is they made a big something out of an absolute nothing, which is traditional Karen behavior. But I got to tell you, Ideal Brothers' oration of it was just as good as a video for me. All right, what say you, Wosny?
You know, we want to encourage our government to invest more in these public utilities. It seems like we're losing more and more of these things, you know, public tennis courts, basketball courts, golf courses, for like people to get out and be active. We want to encourage this stuff. It feels like nowadays, most of the things worth doing activity-wise costs so much money. It's just so cost prohibitive for the average family. And we want to encourage more of this. But like, if you're gonna have Karens trying to bogart the situation where it's just like, bro, the police have to be called because you wanna hog up 2 tennis courts for your kid who's not very good and is probably gonna end up playing intramural tennis when he ends up in college or whatever. Like this is not gonna be in the right direction because we want citizens to have positive, experiences on these public utilities so we can do more of them and do better of them. And I applaud Touré for keeping this cool and keeping a calm head because those kind of things turn ugly quickly. Yeah. Especially when you have aggressive people and you want to go call your man. How many times has that happened, by the way, Dr. Richie, where somebody called their man and their man got his ass whooped? That's happened so many times in history. Just a guy comes to defend his woman's honor and it's just not his day.
Right. Or there was no honor to defend.
Well, that too.
All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Using the military inside the United States, totally unacceptable. And there's no need for it. Well, our cops can't arrest drug cartel gang members? Of course they can. They have great numbers in the past. And the military doesn't do a better job of policing than the police does, no matter whatever you think of the failings of the police. So it's just, there's no need for it. And second of all, anytime we start calling people terrorists, here comes the demagoguing. So the word has no meaning. It doesn't really, it's never used consistently. It's only used against people we don't like. So it's just totally, best case scenario is totally needless. Worst case scenario used for demagoguing and military force. So the third bucket is, should we invade Mexico? Are you kidding me? Why would we attack Mexico? What kind of lunatic talk is this? And I know why Trump's doing it. He thinks keep everything on the table, right? And let me make sure that I use my leverage, and this is among my options. I get it. But it sounds mental and it's destabilizing for the world when we threaten to invade half the countries in our hemisphere.
What are some of your proudest projects at TYT? CDR, I mean, pitching the idea for this show and making it a reality and seeing it grow and evolve over the past 5-6 years. Dear God, has it been 5-6 years? But I have to say True North as well. The farthest reaches of the earth being traveled to by TYT, embedding with a team of scientists, producing this absolutely beautiful footage of a part of the world that doesn't receive much attention on a topic that I really care about. That's always going to be super important to me.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
Like a smart Destiny's Child.
We're all too strong.
We spun a revolution. Yes, another one.
Aren't you excited?
Wow.
And then Alexander
the country are right here on this panel with the obvious exception of John Iroh.
Why is he lying? Because these are acts that you can commit with impunity.
Most of us are usually in boxer shorts underneath.
I went with the pants today.
This is the first ever power panel with Donald Trump as president.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
We have to stop pretending that race is not an issue in this country.
Now keep in mind, racism had gone away until Barack Obama brought it back.
That's right.
They want to protect life so much that they want to ensure that insurance companies don't cover your maternity care.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. The mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, welcome back. Lot of show left. Always good to be with you. We got some comments. Neon Death 07 says McDonald's of all places. Right. And Andrew Martinez, why are you harassing your highest paying customer, Karen? And Savage Beer for 50 burgers. He could wherever he wants. And Librio, yeah, call the cops, self-snitching Karens make for the best stories. Talking about our big brother. And looks like SSP for all _dragon. This guy's a great storyteller. That's right. That's right. That's what he does. Does a great job at it. Okay, here we go. A judge convicted of shooting her ex-boyfriend as he slept. She has a history as well. Put it at full mass. I'll be damned. Magistrate judge in Pennsylvania, Miss Sonia McKnight. Judge McKnight, who was accused of shooting and wounding her ex-boyfriend in the head as he slept, was convicted yesterday of attempted homicide and aggravated assault charges. We brought you this when it first happened. So Judge McKnight was taken away in handcuffs. After the trial, judge rejected a defense request that she be released. She faces up to 60 years in prison when she's sentenced on May 28th. The shooting occurred in 2024 at the boyfriend's home. Judge McKnight had lived there, but the man repeatedly asked her to leave when their relationship ended. That's according to the authorities. Prosecutors argued at trial that Judge McKnight was a jealous partner who, quote, didn't like that she had been asked to leave. But her attorney said the ex-boyfriend couldn't identify the shooter. Well, that's technically correct. He was sleeping. Yes. He was asleep when it happened. There's more. The ex-boyfriend testified that he couldn't see after the shooting, but Judge McKnight was the only other person in the damn home. Called circumstantial, but that's quite powerful. Great circumstantial evidence here. There's more. She was suspended without pay prior to the shooting. So let me explain this. So Judge McKnight, an elected judge in Dauphin County since 2016, was suspended without pay in mid-November 2023 by the Court of Judicial Discipline. Now, why was she suspended? You see, they handle misconduct allegations against judges. The Judicial Conduct Board, which investigates and charges misconduct cases against Pennsylvania judges, alleged in September that Judge McKnight violated judicial probation from a previous misconduct case centered on her actions regarding a 2020 traffic stop involving her son. She was acquitted of criminal charges in that matter. This apparently is not the first time that she has shot a partner. Yeah, you heard me right. It apparently is not the first time she has shot a partner. Let's get it. Judge McKnight was not charged when she shot her estranged husband in 2019 after inviting him over to help her move furniture. Prosecutors did not charge her in that case because she cited self-defense. Judge, you pushed your luck, didn't you? I mean, damn, you did it, got away with it once. Wow, put her again. I mean, that's hell on wheels, man. She done shot two partners. Those are the ones we know about. You know, Wosny, when you shoot somebody, they could easily die, which means you have likely attempted to kill two human beings. Yep. And you're arguing that you should be let go because technically the partner, the second partner, can't really identify you as the shooter because you were asleep at the time. What say you, brother?
Yeah, that's a hell of an alibi, huh? That's a hell of a way to refute something, to be like, well, if the guy was sleeping, how could he really see anything? It's just crazy. And these are one of those things, Dr. Richie, where I try to tell young people, you know, who are finding love and getting in relationships for the first time. They're in their 20s or whatever the case may be. They think they really like people. I'm like, listen, man, delay that cohabitation situation for as long as you possibly can. Be very sure that this is somebody who you can trust, who you want to live with, because I mean, this is the worst case scenario, but damn, it's a bad case. Yeah. Getting shot while you sleep, that like it doesn't get more nightmarish than that. But yeah, man, that's why you can't be moving these people up into your crib, Dr. Richie.
Man, listen, brother, I think it was pretty bad for the ex-husband who came over to move furniture. This guy was doing a good deed, okay? Had no idea what was about to happen, all right? And he already knows she's a judge. She got away with it.
Oh my goodness.
Move on with his life. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
There's one reason why healthcare is so messed up in this country, and that's because of our money in politics situation. Because those industries that are deeply corrupt can just simply purchase all of Congress. And then the problem never gets fixed because of that bribery. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's greed, and it's the greed of politicians, right? I mean, so everything they do is dictated by the donors and the money. I mean, I shouldn't say that, not everything. A lot of what they do is, and I do think that there are people who do things in spite of the fact that they have to raise money and often don't get that money and often don't win because they don't, but are in there fighting for ideals that they believe in. Bernie Sanders is certainly an example of someone like that.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
You want to know the 3 shows that I'm watching lately? Shogun, Anjin-san. Those guys are badasses. Then you go to the Duttons, Yellowstone. Now, they don't always do it right, but they are badasses. But the 3rd show has the biggest badasses of all, the Young Turks. Live every weekend. Sick of that, was so good. God damn it. Okay, live. Weekdays at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's what I meant. Anjin-san. How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back. Good to be with you. Okay, got some comments. Dro Mario truly is judge, jury, and executioner. She thought she was, for sure. Il Tech says she's taking, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit to another level. Yeah, if the person was asleep, you don't know the person in the house. How do you really know that person did the crime, right? And V Brown, she gives sleeping with the enemy a whole new meaning. Very true. It's terrifying, actually. All right, well, Stephen A. Smith, considering running for president of the United States. He's not joking, or is he? All right, here it is.
I'm not scared. There's a lot that I have to learn. I am no aficionado, make no mistake about it. But damn it, let me hunker down for 2 or 3 months. I'll know the issues. And once that happens, than imagining me on a debate stage with these people? These politicians? This is what I do for a living.
When I think about me, and I think about me running for president of the United States, let me re-emphasize that I am woefully unqualified. But a lot of people say so is he. And you put him in. I have no desire to be a politician. I have no interest. But I have been asked by folks in the business world, folks in corporate America, folks on Capitol Hill, plus folks who are friends of mine, to strongly reconsider and to at least leave the door open to the possibilities, because you never know what state our country could be in the next 3 years or so.
I mean, hell, why not? Right? Put him up full mass. Listen, Trump is the current president of the United States of America and is doing the absolute worst job you could imagine. I didn't even know you could break a country this fast. So definitely, Stephen A. Smith. The fact that Stephen A. is talking about preparing for a debate overqualifies him for the position compared to Trump. There you go. Smith has built a career on bold, hot takes. I have disagreed with this brother on many occasions, okay? Most recently, he made headlines for his public spat with LeBron James. But now it seems like political speculation is the newest headline tied to his name. With voters increasingly looking for voices outside of the usual political circle, Smith's name has started to pop up in conversations around 2024 and obviously now 2028, going into 2028. So let's talk about what's really happening. Remember when I said that America created consumers through massive market manipulation, really starting in the late 50s. It started before then, but it went haywire. That's when they wanted people to stop thinking and just buy, purchase. They created these really smart marketing campaigns that made it seem as if you could not live without this brand in your life, okay? And then that brand became a household name. Well, that connected to politics as well. Donald Trump is not a politician. Donald Trump is not a public official. Donald Trump is not even a decent business man. Donald Trump is a brand. Trump, the brand, became attractive to consumers. Stephen A. Smith is a brand. Stephen A. Smith is attractive to certain consumers of brands. I think Stephen A. Smith is actually hitting on something that some in the political movement have not figured out yet, that individuals are voting for brands more so than public service. That's unfortunate, but it's a reality that's happening inside of the context. So less than a month after brushing off the idea, okay, the ESPN host declared on X that he's not shedding the door on a presidential run. Quote, time to stop messing around. Life is great, especially at ESPN/Disney. Hate the thought of being a politician, but sick of this mess. So I'm officially leaving. All doors open, all right? According to a survey by polling group, McLaughlin and Associates, Smith, a registered independent, pulled in 2% of Democratic voters' support in a hypothetical presidential primary. A small number, but one that echoes early polling for President Donald Trump before his 2016 political breakthrough. Smith landed in the same range as several established political figures, including Josh Shapiro, Tim Walz, Senator Cory Booker. Hey man, listen, it is what it is. As I said, people are buying brands right now. All right, brands are hot, okay? While the poll numbers aren't definitive, obviously, they're enough to keep the conversation going, which according to Smith, some politicians are seriously pursuing. Quote, over the last few weeks, I've had no choice but to get more serious about it, he said during a panel at the NAB show in Las Vegas. Quote, I've been approached by people on Capitol Hill. I've been approached by people who are elected officials in office, whether it's governors or mayors or what have you. People have legitimately seriously asked me about it. And I would assume that many of these individuals happen to be conservative. And that's a reality of how they do this many times. So, Stephen A. Smith, president.
You know what's funny, man, is I'm of two minds here. I think the lack of confidence that the public has within the current Democratic Party establishment and order is a real thing. There are real frustrations. People do not like Chuck Schumer. People do not like Hop Jeffries. People do not like these folks. People want something different. I think there are parallels to 2016, honestly, within the GOP, in the sense that they were coming off of 2 butt whoopings by Barack Obama, who they hated. And we're like, yo, we listened to you guys when you fed us Mitt Romney. We listened to you guys when you fed us John McCain, and you promised us victories and it didn't work. And I think similarly, the Democratic base could be like, we listened to you guys on Hillary and Biden and Kamala and how these guys were gonna stop us from having to deal with Trump, who we hate. And I think there's a genuine appetite for that. And I think somebody needs to fill the void and speak to actual anger that exists amongst the actual Democratic Party base. Like folks, like especially Trump and his cronies, they like to say, oh, we have this huge mandate. They won by 1.5%, okay? There's plenty of people who oppose their agenda. They just got smoked in Wisconsin after all of that money. They don't have some crazy mandate. This thing is very close to turning around, but somebody needs to give voice to the genuine concerns of actual Democratic Party loyalists and voters. And I don't see why Stephen A. couldn't be that guy. Like he's been a communicator. That's how this guy has made himself at the top of his industry, being an effective communicator. My only thing is like, who's Stephen A. actually gonna be talking to? I heard him say people in the business sector are telling him to run. That gives me pause, Dr. Richie. Like, I'm anti the idea. In fact, I think the Democratic Party order and establishment are too willing to listen to the business elite and business establishment in terms of how they run their campaigns and all of that. So while I think a Stephen A. Smith type could give voice to the legitimate, anger that's felt within the Democratic Party base, I'm not so convinced Stephen A. isn't, basically within close proximity enough to the people who are actually causing the problems that he would be any better as a candidate.
You make some really excellent point. You always do. One point I want to echo and add to. When you said they gave them Mitt, then they gave them McCain, right? Or McCain and Mitt, right? And we see what happened. Like those were the gatekeepers in the conservative movement. They made the argument of electability to Republican voters. And they said, listen, to beat an Obama, this is what you got to do. I mean, McCain was universally hated by mainstream conservatives who were active in the party at that time, right? Mitt Romney, basically a moderate Republican, definitely not celebrated by the conservative movement. But they did it, made them the nominee. And then Republicans decided to say, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. And that's the part that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to the place to tell the Democratic establishment, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. And when that happens, that's when the tide will turn. Just like it did for the Republicans. It will turn for us, and thankfully, more people believe in our policies than they would ever believe in the policies of a conservative. All right, Woz, always fascinating, dear brother, to have you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
Thank you, man. Always dope to be on with you guys. I'm Big Woz on every single social media platform, and you could just follow, you could just follow what we do at theringer.com.
Thank you, dear brother. All right, Bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
Using the military inside the United States, totally unacceptable. And there's no need for it. Well, our cops can't arrest drug cartel gang members? Of course they can. They have great numbers in the past. And the military doesn't do a better job of policing than the police does, no matter whatever you think of the failings of the police. So it's just, there's no need for it. And second of all, anytime we start calling people terrorists, here comes the demagoguing. So the word has no meaning. It doesn't really, it's never used consistently. It's only used against people we don't like. So it's just totally, best case scenario is totally needless. Worst case scenario used for demagoguing and military force. So the third bucket is, should we invade Mexico? Are you kidding me? Why would we attack Mexico? What kind of lunatic talk is this? And I know why Trump's doing it. He thinks keep everything on the table, right? And let me make sure that I use my leverage, and this is among my options. I get it. But it sounds mental, and it's destabilizing for the world when we threaten to invade half the countries in our hemisphere.
What are some of your proudest projects at TYT? CDR, I mean, pitching the idea for this show and making it a reality and seeing it grow and evolve over the past 5-6 years. Dear God, has it been 5-6 years? But I have to say True North as well. The farthest reaches of the earth being traveled to by TYT, embedding with a team of scientists, producing this absolutely beautiful footage of a part of the world that doesn't receive much attention on a topic that I really care about. That's always gonna be super important to me.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
Like a smart Destiny's Child.
We're all too strong.
We start a revolution. Yes, another one.
Aren't you excited?
Wow.
And then Alex writers in the country are right here on this panel with the obviously
We're starting in a lot of ways.
Why is he lying? Because these are acts that you can commit with impunity.
Most of us are usually in boxer shorts underneath.
I went with the pants today.
This is the first ever power panel with Donald Trump as president.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
We have to stop pretending that race is not an issue in this country.
Now keep in mind, racism had gone away until Barack Obama brought it back.
That's right.
They want to protect life so much that they want to ensure that insurance companies don't cover your maternity care.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. He's back in the Bullpen. We have Mr. Daniel Idfresne. I've had him a time before. We were talking about Trump, economic policies. We're going to talk about tariffs today. Dear brother, thank you for coming back on the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Absolutely. All right, let's highlight this clip. Harris Faulkner on Trump tariffs. Here it is.
and those 401k people who are depending, those retirees, all of that, just talking plain speak with them. Look, when this nation used to go to war, people in this country would support the war effort with their materials at home and making things for weaponry and all of that. We got to do 100% buy-in over this bumpy period. Just communicate.
Yeah, it's interesting how all of a sudden tariffs are a good thing, or economic non-progress is celebrated under the Trump administration. You have even more information about how console prices can raise by 40%. We're going to talk about this in a broader context. Tell us, you supported Trump. You have talked about supporting Trump. Tell us, how will the tariffs affect the gaming industry and other permeations outside of what we've discussed typically in the mainstream conversation?
Yeah, so in a piece I wrote for Reason, I talked about how the video game industry will be impacted by the Trump administration. And I think that video games is a very interesting case study, because video games, specifically console, falls into that class of durable goods, like washing machines, cars, and other goods like that Americans typically buy when they're economically stable. And because a lot of our consoles are made outside of the United States, tariffs could affect their prices and ultimately affect the video game industry. Even though the 100,000 American jobs are in the software side of the video game industry, consoles is a loss leader. So they already lose money before tariffs, but after, at least Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo can recoup those losses and make profits on the in-game content and whatnot. But if Americans don't buy those consoles in the first place, the video game industry will suffer.
Let me ask you this, and I do apologize, I'm having some delay with the sound. But so as it stands, Trump said, okay, we're raising the tariffs against China to 125% because he said they're disrespectful, basically. You have a significant cost, obviously, being passed to the consumer. I heard Trump say during a quasi-interview that he believes the tariffs are paid by the country that he has leveraged the tariff against. We know that to be holistically untrue. That's patently false. Consumers pay the tariff. That's how it works. Now, I'm interested to know, you voted for Trump. Do you have voters' remorse at this point, seeing what he has done in his first couple of months back in office?
I do not have voter remorse. Obviously, when it comes to economic policy, I'm cautious about a lot of the economic policy. There's reason to be cautious, some reason to be optimistic. On the optimism side, I would say some of the domestic investments from companies is a promising sign, although we'll see whether those investments are actually investments that they'll make, or just a form of lobbying in order to get on Trump's good side. And then there's also reason to be concerned that with the Reason magazine that I wrote, there's a Reason magazine that I wrote on the video game industry. I wrote another one for Regular Politics about sort of the spoil system, the way tariffs can induce the spoil system in government. And so I think there's reasons to be optimistic and also but more cautious, especially right now. With the 90-day pause, part of it is walking back, which is, I think, a quasi-good sign. First, I mean, you shouldn't have got yourself in that position in the first place, but at least he's listening to the markets and to the American people when they say this is definitely not a good idea. When it comes to China, I think we have to wait and see how the other 75 countries, what deals they end up making and whether they are beneficial to the American people or not, and how China will respond. There's a lot to just look at, and we'll wait and see how a lot of these things have developed. But I'm definitely cautious and optimistic in several different, I guess, portions of what's going on in the economy.
Brother, when you talk about the 90-day pause, how that is, him listening to the market, him listening to the American people. These are problems he created. You would prefer to have a leader who listened to the American people, who listened to the market prior to effing it up. You don't want the leader that messes a bunch of stuff up and possibly can course correct in the middle, remedy some of it, and then declare a victory. That's not the kind of leadership we're talking about. We're talking about leadership that knows what to do on day one. There used to be a standard. All of a sudden, when Trump got in office, that was no longer the standard. Let me do this. I got to go to a quick break. I'm going to come to a break, let you respond. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. All right, okay, welcome back. So Daniel, I want to pose this question to you. Obviously, you have a huge demographic of the population. They are engaged in gaming. It is a big consumer item for young people. You got holidays. When they come up, once again, big consumer item. What's gonna happen? We're talking about 40%, maybe more, of an increase in what consumers will have to pay for basic gaming items. The last time you were on the program, we talked about why young people were voted for Trump. Well, is this enough of an incentive to give some young folk who voted for Trump because of whatever they believed about Trump, that they now say, well, we got to give pause. This guy's making us pay more for things that we actually like.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a concern for the Trump administration. Again, video games, like I said earlier, video games, consoles is a durable good for the American people. People typically buy those goods when they're economically stable. I know that for a lot of young people, GTA 6 is coming out later in the year, and I'm pretty sure the Nintendo for the Switch 2 at least, its release has been pushed back. And so, yes, a lot of these things cause consternation for the American people. Is going to be interesting to see over the next few years. I'm pretty sure Sony is coming out with the PlayStation 6, perhaps in 2026, and Microsoft is coming out with a new gen console as well. And this will be right in the middle of the Trump administration. And so it's going to be interesting to see how console sales, the performance of those sales after 1 or 2 years into this, I guess, new tariff regime by the Trump administration.
Let me ask you this. One of the purposes, according to the Trump administration, for these insane tariffs is to move manufacturing jobs to the United States of America. Now, if you're really about jobs, you should attack automation because that is the #1 job killer in America. And those jobs do not come back to that American who had it taken away by a robot. But let's just assume the administration is making a good faith argument. That's a hell of an assumption, but we're going to assume it. By increasing tariffs, let's say the industry of cars, right? Car making. Now you're telling the dealerships, okay, you got to make your cars in America now. They have no infrastructure then. They do not have the land. Many times they do not possess the expertise. They do not have the regulatory rights. None of these things exist. My point is, how do you create an infrastructure in 24 hours? Because they had no time, no industry had any time to adapt to the new tariffs that are so extreme that basically the only thing they can do is increase the cost of the vehicles by the same amount of the tariff. So basically you're going to pay an additional 20 to 40% on the vehicle now in order to satisfy the new tariff that has been levied.
No, yeah, that's another great point, and that's another point that I make in some of the op-eds and other media hits that I've done. The very difficult thing, I think, the right tends to forget this, and like our manufacturing, U.S. manufacturing really became a powerhouse at the end of World War II, and that was a very specific, particular time in American history. Obviously, Europe and the Pacific, Japan specifically, were. They had to rebuild, at the end of World War II, and America was placed in a very unique position in order to supply Europe and Japan. But that's not the case right now. And like you said, it does take a long time for infrastructure to be made. The fact is, yes, Trump talks about the 90,000 factories that were closed, but it takes a long time to bring them back. And you're right. When you impose tariffs at the level that I guess the Howard Lutnick side of the White House want to impose for revenue, which is another thing I'm sort of iffy on. I don't really think that you can close the federal deficit with tariff, which is like another thing we could talk about. But it takes a while for the infrastructure to come back. Now, and I guess on the optimism side, at least, I took time to study Apple's $350 billion contribution to the United States during Trump's first term. Between 2018 and 2022, they did create 17,000 new jobs. I believe their goal was to make 20,000. They did. They had an advanced manufacturing fund, and they supplied different manufacturing facilities that already existed money to increase production. And so perhaps some of the investments that companies have announced, I think Hyundai, TSMC, Taiwan's semiconductor chip manufacturer company has also announced investments. But again, are these investments that these companies are planning to announce in America, and they just happen to want to as a form of lobbying so they can, get some tariff reprieve? And B, how long will that take exactly for your, $500 billion?
Right, and that's the thing. He has no plan. You see, when you have a bold vision, it's not enough for it to simply be bold or for it to be a vision. It must have the element of implementation. You're asking for innovation and implementation without providing the allocation of time. That can't work. You're going to bypass a recession. While people are talking about we're not in a recession, he's bypassing that. You're going straight into a depression. Because once it hits every market so hard, you skip this intermediary point and you get right into a significant economic collapse, because coffee, clothes, and cars, those are the 3 C's in economics. When people start buying less coffee, clothes, and cars, you're at the brink of economic collapse. And I think you understand this studying economics yourself. So he's going to that. I mean, that started to happen now. And we're still arguing if these tariffs will work. I don't see how they can work, dear brother. Under any circumstance, how can these tariffs work? They're not working for us.
I think right now, the development that we saw yesterday, I think it's a good sign. I think the biggest problem with the Trump administration this term around has been the messaging problem. All right, so you want tariffs. Why? And there are 2 big camps within the White House. You have the Howard Lutnick camp, that said we're going to implement these tariffs, we're going to make revenue from these tariffs, and we aren't going to take them off. That's the Howard Lutnick's and Peter Navarro's. And then you have the Scott Bessent sort of side of the White House that sort of want to leverage some of the tariffs into deals and into a pressure campaign against China. I think with Scott Bessent coming out when the 90-day pause was announced and him talking was a good sign. I think that trade deals with the 75 countries that will come out there. I think that provides an opportunity for the Trump administration not to put in blanket tariffs, but to have very specific sort of like deals in terms of.
Let me say this. I don't mean to interrupt him at the end of the program, and I'm going to make a prediction. And Daniel, next time you come on the show, you can tell me I'm right or wrong.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll have more tariffs. There will be a doubling down of some of these additional tariffs. But what's going to happen is that Trump will make carve-outs. He'll make carve-outs for specific companies. Those companies will be able to buy, import, export. They can trade without having the penalty of that particular tariff. The reason why those companies are going to be given favored treatment is because of their loyalty to Trump. And that is where you're headed. Why? Because that's the way oligarchs work. That's how an oligarchy operates. You have to control import, export, and only pick your winners and losers from the White House. That's what he's headed to. That's my prediction. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong next time we talk. All right, dear brother?
Sounds good.
All right, man. Appreciate you being on the show. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.